So you want a classic system. Well, maybe you bought one of these. Maybe you bought one of these. Maybe you bought an NES Classic. Maybe you didn't have money for either. Well, there might be even a cheaper solution. Maybe you want to build your own. Well, today in getTekt, we're going to be building our own mini Sega Genesis. So, what are we going to make this pie out of? What are we going to make this Genesis pie out of, I should say? Well, first thing we start with, we have a Genesis case made by RetroFlag, which is probably one of the best Raspberry Pi cases out there. These guys also do an NES case, they do an SNES case, and a Famicom case. And they all work, and they have working buttons, and we'll get into that later. So, we're also going to be using a Raspberry Pi Model 3B Plus. The main difference is that it has 5G capability. And of course, so if you don't use a Raspberry Pi, you want a 2.5 amp plug, because you're gonna get that little lightning bolt that's gonna say, what's going on here? What's your problem? So I wanna add something. I'm gonna show you guys something that RetroFlag also added into this package with this Genesis. So they gave us a carrying case, GeekPi carrying case, and they gave me a fan heatsink, well, a fan for heatsink, and 3 actual heat sinks for the Raspberry Pi, which we'll be adding as well, just in case you want to overclock, you know, like me. So, what do we got in this little box that says 16-bit master system? So, Genesis in the States. We all know it as. So, let's see what we got here. We're going to get, of course, dun 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 dun, the Genesis. So we actually do have a Genesis in the studio sitting around. I do a comparison shot. Maybe later in the video we'll do a comparison shot with it. So this is definitely almost like a one-for-one like comparison, except for obviously MegaPi. And yeah, so these buttons actually do work. They are actually a reset button, on-off button that does work, and that's a volume button, but it's not a volume button. It's a button to hold your SD cards if you need to. So let's take a look on the inside. As you can see, this is the little I/O board we have controlling our USBs and the on-off buttons that are on the top of the case, so we can shut it off safely without having to unplug it. And the great thing about this is also has, so you can get to your network cards, is it actually has a little spot in the back here that you can unplug, and you can see the Raspberry Pi is gonna be right here. Plug your network card if you need a hardwire. But if you have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, you can go 5G and actually go wireless pretty fast. That's if you're going network, but that's it. Okay, it's now time for the building process. So we got our Raspberry Pi, but we're gonna get some heat sinks on it. So we have heat sinks sitting right here, which are pretty nice little heat sinks. We have one for the main chip. We also have a little copper heat sink for the back, and another little tiny black heat sink. So let's get these heat sinks on. Now I like to use a little magic here to get these heat sinks on. So, and voila, we have heat sinks, even on the back. I don't know how I did that, but must be magic. So let's get into putting this fan into our Genesis, or master system, whatever you want to call it. So all we have to do is line this little fan. And actually, what's actually really useful is actually that they made actually little clips here to hold the fan in place. You actually, if you really didn't want to screw it in, you wouldn't have to, which is actually kind of nice. So you make sure when you're actually doing this with this fan, you want to make sure the little plus symbol right here, see that plus symbol, is lined up with your red wire. That's your positive wire. Don't do it the other way. Bad things happen. We don't want bad things happening. Then we grab our little screws and we put them in the fan. Now you can go ahead and add all 4 of these screws if you want to. I'm not, there's no need for it. There's clips holding this fan down, and now it's gonna be 2 screws. That's more than enough. Okay, now the Raspberry Pi. So the way this orients, obviously you can see our USBs are going to be connecting to this, and we're going to be orienting it so that we have to connect this little IO light connector right here. So that IO connector connects right at the very end right here. So, and it's going to connect so that like that little black, we can get it in the shot here. This little red spot is going to be at the very end of the IO. So what we want to do here, and this is going to be weird on camera like this, because I'm trying to line it up. Okay. Now that pain in the ass part is kind of hard to line this up while in a shot. Now it's a matter of maneuvering the wire down over, around the fan, and over the fan, and above the fan, and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. So the next thing you want to do is, if you see, you want to line your HDMI first up with this, so that when you push it down, you're not snagging on the other wires. Okay, now that we got that in there, so before we hook up our little, we are going to be screwing the Pi into the case. Okay, now our Raspberry Pi is secure, so now we just want to add our USBs. So we have front USB control for our Pi, and it's just a matter of reaching over, plugging them in. Okay, so now that we have the Raspberry Pi put together into the Sega Genesis case, the one thing you're wondering is, how are we going to shut these system off? How is those on and off buttons going to work? Well, you can tell this actually connects right with the actual buttons on the Sega Genesis, yes. But there's a little switch over here called the safety switch. And what this does is actually allows you to either safely shut it off by having the actual switches on the front be able to reset and turn it on and off, or you can just keep that off and it'll kill switch the system, just cut power all to it. But I would say the safer and better way to do it is just make sure that's on, run the script on Raspberry Pi, and it's fairly simple, right in the instruction manual. Just a little bit of a line of code real quick, and it downloads the rest for you and installs it. And thus, you have a working mini Sega Genesis. So let's get this top on here. Thus, our mini Sega Genesis. So now we have our complete build. So we're gonna get into how to actually install RetroPi. So a little story about this whole thing before we get into actually installing RetroPi. This is actually the second one I got before we were gonna, this video almost didn't happen because UPS delivers your package. You can go get it. I got the alert on my phone. Gate closed, gate open, watch the USB guy, go back to his truck, UPS guy. Go grab my package off behind my gate, and I'm like, I didn't order anything flat or giant screen protector. Pick out the package, slightly open, nothing in it. A little peculiar, but luckily, I have a suspicions who did steal it, but we won't get into any speculation here. But this is what's great about Amazon. I immediately called Amazon right out, and they immediately gave me a refund and sent me out a new MegaPi, and it's here for you today. Okay, everybody. So we're now going to get into flashing RetroPi onto our SD card. So the one thing you do want to make sure on your SD card is definitely format your SD card and make sure it's ready to go. Don't want anything on the SD card. Get a fast SD card. SanDisk is a pretty good bet, but yeah, And if you want to put a good amount of games, you want to go with at least 64 gig. They're fairly cheap. Head over to Amazon, go pick one up. So let's go over to RetroPi's website. Okay, so this is RetroPi's website. As you can see, there's a couple screenshots of games being played, and you can see right here, because I'm sure some questions are going to be asked about Kodi. Yes, Kodi can be ran on the RetroPi. We're not going to get into how to do that in this video, but you can just Google it. It's fairly easy. So you want to go to the download section, and depending on what Raspberry Pi you have, you want to download either the Raspberry Pi 1 or the Raspberry Pi 2 3 edition. So, and that's extremely critical, which one you're going to be using, because you don't want to get the wrong one. But we've already downloaded it, so let's get over to our image, and we're going to go over to a program called Etcher. Etcher is probably one of the best flashing software out there. It's probably the safest. It even checks the data after it flashed it to make sure it is correct. So one of the safest, it's free. Just search Etcher. The links will be below. If you want to go download Etcher for yourself, for your own personal use, go check it out. I definitely recommend it. Okay, so we see here we have Etcher. So we want to select our image, and our image is over in the downloads folder in RetroPi, and we got our image. Okay, so, and it immediately sees your SD card. This is also another thing that's great about Etcher. It immediately finds it right away, sees your SD card, sees that it's a 64 gig. That's something different. Okay, let's flash this. Okay, we now have our image flashed onto our SD card, and we're going to be moving over to the Raspberry Pi and how to set up their script to get our power buttons working and our reset button working, and how to add some ROMs onto there. Okay, we now have our welcome screen for our RetroPi. As you can see, it says hold any button to start configuring your controller. Well, we happen to have an Xbox controller hooked up right now, so we're going to hold a button. And your hotkey, which will just make select. Okay, we have now configured our controller. We are welcomed with the RetroPi screen. So now you're wondering, okay, how do we get those buttons working that are on the Sega Genesis? Well, first we gotta configure our Wi-Fi, so let's do that. Okay, now we're back at our other screen here. Before we stop our Wi-Fi, a little configuration screen. So next we are going to exit out of RetroPi, and you do that by pressing F4 on your keyboard. Now, if I didn't say that, well, you might want to add a USB keyboard so you can go to the terminal on RetroPi. So to get this whole thing running, we're going to be going to a website, and this website is actually right on the instruction manual for this case by RetroFlag. All right, so we're over here at RetroFlag's webpage, and you can see there's a little bit of instructions of how to get your RetroPi, your MegaPi buttons working. So you just have to type this whole thing in right here. You can also do it if you really want to do it through PuTTY. You can do it that way too. We're not going to get to that in this video because this is more of a simple way everybody can do this and get this set up. And you just have to make sure to type this in exactly how it is in your Raspberry Pi, and your buttons will be working just as right as rain. Okay, after we've pressed F4, we are appeared with this screen. I've already pre-typed in the command from the GitHub of RetroFlag's GitHub page, but make sure when you're typing this command in, you definitely want to make sure what a European keyboard layout is. If you have a European keyboard, well, you have no problems and you're in Europe, you're good to go. But if you're over here in the States and you try to type this in on an American keyboard, well, you might run into some problems. And you also want to make sure after you set up your Wi-Fi, you have to make sure to select your country of origin. If you don't do that, the IP address will not show up and it will not link it. It will not be able to download this update to allow you to use your buttons on your Pi case. So let's let the script run and install. So as we're downloading, as you can see, this might take a little bit, so it's gonna be a little bit of a cut here, but we're about done. It's installing all the processes we need to make sure all of our buttons work. So now your RetroPi is rebooted. The script is installed to run all the buttons. So now your reset buttons, on-off buttons should work perfectly fine to allow you to shut off the RetroPi or reset the RetroPi. So now you want to add some ROMs. So right before we add ROMs though, I'm going to show you something really quick. So this is a pretty basic layout, right? So, all right, we're going to go into the RetroPi setup. All right, so go to configurations and go to your ES themes. Okay, so now you want to, since there's a lot of themes here, but we're looking for one in general. We're looking for, because this is a class system, we want to emulate another class system. So we're going to find the NES theme by Ruckage, which is actually a really cool theme. And we'll do the mini SNES theme. Okay, so that is now installed. So we'll go to install, back, exit. Now we want to go back. We want to go to press start. Go to UI. Go to theme set, and we're going to change it to SNES Mini. Okay. Okay, now it looks like an SNES Mini. So how do you add ROMs? So there's a few ways you can go adding ROMs. The quickest way that I think is the quickest way, you can add it by USB, or you can just connect through, if you're connected to the internet, your computer's connected to the internet. So all you have to do is go onto your Explorer on your internet. We're going to bring up our file system here. Okay, so we're on our Explorer screen on our Windows here. And the easiest way that I find to move ROMs over is connect directly remotely. You have to make sure you are connected to the same network as your Raspberry Pi. It cannot be a different network. It has to be the exact same network as your computer is connected to. And type in / RetroPi. And boom, the RetroPi. You're going to get a BIOS folder, config folder, ROMs folder, splash screen. Splash screen is when RetroPi starts up. You can change that screen as well. BIOS is obviously if you're going to run any kind of PlayStation ROMs or other ROMs that require a BIOS. So we just want to go to ROMs. And since this is a mini Genesis, well, we're going to add some Genesis games. So let's find some Genesis games. I'll do 11. Okay. So now we have our ROMs added to our folder. We can back out of this. Close your little browser. And then we're going to go back to our RetroPi. So now that we have some games added, we are going to restart the RetroPi. And look, we have Megadrive. So let's go into our Megadrive. Oh, look, we now have Aladdin, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Streets of Rage. So it's fairly, there's no other configuring you have to do to try to get these games to run. You just merely press the button and go. Ah, and that sweet music, Streets of Rage. This is a favorite of yours? Well, hats off to you. It's one of the best games on Sega that was ever made. Let's check how it's working. Let's get into a fight. All buttons are working, even our police car Even though there's nobody around, I know. But merely a test. Me getting punched in the face to test too, I guess. So this game seems to be running pretty well. And to exit out, you can usually press start and select together. Boom. And you are back to this screen. So we'll try one more game before. Of course, everybody knows this iconic beginning. So, seems like Sonic the Hedgehog is working pretty well. So, now you're up and running. Now it's up to you to add whatever games you want to your RetroPi and up and running or theme. You can also run the scraper, which will allow you to download the cover art for all these games as well. And I would highly recommend that we may do in a future video. Steven's scraper, it's an alternate scraper that works much faster and also allows you to download videos to go along with your box art. It's a little bit more flashy, especially if you want to put that extra little touch into your little mini retro gaming system. Also, if you're looking to build this exact same setup, the links will be below to buy everything that you need to make this little mini Sega Genesis or Master System on Amazon. And it'll cost you about $75, and it's well worth it. So check out the links below, everything you need. Hope you enjoy this video when we turn this into this. If you thought this video helped you out in any way making your own class system, or you just wanted to add another class system to your repertoire, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe